Fellow explorers, welcome back to another thrilling episode of the Show. I'm your host, Aaron, and as always, I'm joined by our co host, cousin Landon. Hello.
Good day. Hello. Round two. We're going to talk about Star Trek. I'm looking forward to this.
Long and prosper, bro.
I'm doing the finger in. I really need to do it out.
Yes, I think it's got to be out. In means something completely different. Trust
Oh,
me.
yeah, don't do that.
Today we're continuing our journey through the cosmos with the second part of our Star Trek original series special. We'll be diving into some of the most iconic episodes that have left a mark on fans across the galaxy. So let's set our phasers to fun and
Oh.
dive right in. All right,
Hmm.
we're going to start with Where No Man Has Gone Before. Now, this is the second pilot that was ordered by NBC. They didn't really much like the first pilot episode that had Christopher Pike
Right.
as the captain, so it got retooled. Spock was the only one they brought back. All of the other characters were brand new, including James T. Kirk. So this was our second pilot, but it didn't air until the third episode of the first season. It introduces us to the mysterious barrier at the edge of the galaxy and the potentially dangerous consequences of ESP. Landon, what are your thoughts on the crew encountering this barrier and the ethical dilemma that Captain Kirk faces with his friend Gary Mitchell's growing godlike abilities?
Uh, I thought it was a cool start to the series. Of course, I had come into the show having watched the movies first. And
Hmm.
so when I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going back and I'm watching this. Of course, I spent half of the episode really adjusting from the difference to William Shatner later in life, and of course all of them to now. And then the rest of it, the plot was pretty good, I guess. Just I can feel like my dad, who was probably watching this show when he was in his teens or something. You know what I mean? And they're just going, "Oh my gosh, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do?" It's not like it was heavy plot driven, and you feel the drama and the serial type of, you know, it's just kind of funny. But I mean, it was a good start, I think. What about you?
Um, so the episodes I chose for us to talk about today are basically some of the top episodes that have been made the top lists throughout fandom over the years. And so, this one Where No Man Has Gone Before, being the second pilot, and yet being the third episode that was aired, uh, it to me it was just kind of a run of the mill kind of feeling episode. It's interesting that they encounter that barrier at the edge of the galaxy because there's a lot of talk about that barrier over the years and throughout the different series, but it's really explored in Star Trek Discovery, one of the newer series. This most recent season, I believe, I
Right.
guess that'd be season 4,
Yeah.
where they actually break through the barrier and
Right.
leave the Milky Way galaxy
Right.
and truly go where no man has gone before. It's crazy. So I think in that sense, this is a really important episode because it introduces something that is central to Star Trek lore and has carried on for where are we at now? 60 years later,
Yeah.
almost 60 years later to be used as a serious plot point in a different series.
Right.
So I just think it's fascinating to know that there is continuity that has lasted that long.
Right.
um I think the only other more impressive continuity you can find is maybe Doctor Who, that's getting ready to celebrate its 60th anniversary.
Right.
So yeah. Um, so yeah, it's a captivating story, kind of exploring the boundaries of human potential and the moral dilemmas that they faced with all of that. Next on our list, I actually find more compelling is Balance of Terror. So this is where we're introduced to the Romulans,
Yeah,
and we find out that they've got a cloaking device that can hide
yeah.
their ships. Um,
Now
so and
that
it,
has lasted throughout. I mean, that is
yes,
such an important part of all series is cloaking technology. This is a super huge important, and the conflict with Romulans lasts forever. Like Klingons, you work something out a little bit, you know, but we're gonna all kind of get along. But Romulans, it's like they're like the Slytherin of this show. You know, there's a good Romulan here or there, but
they're the Death Eaters.
there wasn't a bad witch or wizard that didn't come out of Slytherin.
That's
So
right. Yeah. Yeah, the Romulan Empire is just it's so crazy. And what's really interesting, what I've always thought was fascinating is that the commander of the Warbird that the Enterprise encounters is played by Mark Leonard, the same man who plays Spock's father, Sarek,
oh, he plays
from
Sarek. I never made
yeah.
that connection. Really?
So so when they show up and they see the Romulans for the first time and see how similar they look to Vulcans,
Right.
you know, how crazy is that? I mean, and we would later find out in the course of telling the story that Vulcans and Romulans were once uh a single
From the same,
race,
yeah, right,
and that Romulans broke off, and Vulcans went on to become more disciplined and
right.
uh you know
Romulans
reined in their
embrace,
emotions.
right.
Yeah,
Romulans
Romulans embraced
embrace
their emotions.
their emotions for power. I always thought it was interesting how they're the Romulus and Remus, just our own culture and history of Romans. You know what I mean? And I always thought that was interesting. But that's that.
They would name their planets after a couple of Roman myths that we had here on Earth. Were they catching some kind of transmission from us?
Yeah, I think maybe back in the day somebody saw a Romulan ship go by, or stop in for a cheeseburger. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? Man, that's a good episode.
And yeah, at the end, I think it's at the end of the episode, where Kirk and the Romulan commander, have their final words. The Romulan says, "In a different reality, I could have called you friend." Um, that really strikes a chord,
It really
because
does.
it's like if things could be different, because what it comes down to is that the people who make up the Federation and the Romulan Empire really aren't that different,
No, they're
when it
really
comes
not.
down to it. I mean, sure, the Romulan Empire itself um
It's like a
is very they
totalitarian type
conquer,
of. They
they want to
conquer, right?
conquer, but at the same time, it's all about taking care of their own, and that's
Right.
again what the Federation wants to do, and the
A lot of
Federation is more
pride.
about exploring and learning more about
Well,
what's out
and
there.
getting past not letting ambition get in the way of the right thing. I think that's the common thread with Starfleet, or what was being shown is like we don't worry about currency. We don't have to worry about people having enough food. We don't need to overeat because we have the opportunity to eat. Like hedonism is not like a need. There's not like a need for that anymore. So
For
like
sure.
that very very different kind of way. I remember that in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, when Kirk, who is not a fan of the Klingons for their responsible, or one of them, well, Christopher Lloyd was responsible for his son's death. His son he's known for a
Mhm.
short time, and so it's interesting. I remember when he's talking to the ambassador for the Klingons, and they really come to like a place of meeting. And then it made me, when I saw this episode, which I saw this after I'd watched 6, I thought the parallel was kind of interesting about these two different races, although it was Klingons versus Romulans.
Yeah. Yeah, what you mentioned there about Star Trek 6, as much as Kirk hates Klingons, and it is a racism, it's prejudice, it's, whatever you want to call it. It's truly a true hatred of a race. But he is willing to put his hatreds aside in the interest of peace in the galaxy.
Right,
And he and Bones, when they're accused of killing the Chancellor, they're fighting for it. They're like, why on earth, why in the galaxy would we give up this one man who was the best hope for peace that we could possibly have?
right,
Because at that point it's not about who Kirk hates anymore. It's about the
right.
the betterment of humanity and Klingons, and they're coming together. And uh it's a very powerful movie. I really,
Yeah,
Undiscovered Country is so good.
it's really one of
um
my favorite Star Trek movies ever. But it just kind of had a little throwback to this episode for me.
yeah. All right, so let's talk about Space Seed. This is the episode that introduces us to the unforgettable villain Khan Noonien Singh.
Oh
What are your
man,
thoughts on this concept of a genetically engineered superhuman from the 20th century?
I like the storyline. Because it kind of goes back and talks about how where we are as a culture now, or I guess where they were as a culture then, and how the continued destruction of humanity and these factions and fighting and creating superhuman, or having this ability to have like an elite soldier, and then they break off and they're doing their own thing, and I mean, just this apocalyptic world and how we came out of that, and now you have this, this discovery. It's interesting though to me because Khan really is set up as a Moriarty, for what happens later to Captain Kirk, and he looks so different. Obviously, just a completely different haircut. He looked like Gene Simmons, you know. but but I really like this storyline a lot. What about you?
So, um, I think it's great that the whole the end of the story of the episode, Space Seed. Kirk decides to offer Khan and his people, like, and this is after Khan tries to take over the ship and
Right,
kill Kirk.
right,
Kirk still, is willing to offer them a chance at life instead of trying to destroy them or putting them back in cryo freeze and
right.
setting their ship adrift again. He could have easily done that, but no. They find a lush planet, SETI Alpha 5, and give them a chance to live out there. Now, I do
Seti
wonder,
Alpha 6, Seti
would
Alpha
there have been
5.
I wonder if there had been more of the series. I wonder if they had any intention of bringing Khan back in the
Right.
show. Um, because obviously he does come back in Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. Um,
Man,
and oh my gosh, he is so good in that role.
he
Um,
is so good.
Ricardo Montalban is, I mean, man. Um, but I can't help but wonder, like, if they had gotten more than 3 seasons, or if they had had a chance to maybe write that episode, what would another episode with Khan have looked like if they had gone back to SETI Alpha 5 to check up on the crew of the Botany Bay?
Don't you feel like because it didn't in this episode we got to see Spock fight a bit more, right? Because of because they had the superhuman. I'm trying to remember the episode. It's been so long, but didn't like Kirk fought. I mean, it's just completely overpowered, right? Because they're so strong. But didn't we did see Spock fight more in this episode past? Because before it'd been more like like the moves and like that sort of stuff. But this one, I
You
feel
get
like
you
we
get
got to
that
see. Yeah, we got the big
that
fight.
double-handed fist.
Ah!
Um, yeah, I think is this where we discovered that Spock has superhuman strength as well?
Feel like it is because he went up against him, didn't he? And then there it was like a moment, but I can't remember. It's been so long, but I feel like that was the episode where you're like, oh, you know,
Right.
oh my.
All right. Let's get to one of my personal favorites, The City on the Edge of Forever. This one had time travel, it had love, it had sacrifice, all rolled into one. What are your thoughts on this tragic love story between Kirk and Ms. Edith Keeler? And then the moral dilemma faced by Kirk. You remember this episode?
No, recap me. I'm sure I will once you tell me, but yeah, go back.
So this is the one where they wound up going back in time to World War II Earth. Um,
Yes. Oh my
and
gosh.
and Kirk falls in love with this woman
Yeah.
who has to die in order for, I can't remember what it is, but like millions of people will live if she dies. That kind of thing. And in the end,
That's a great
she's
episode.
crossing the street and like she's about to get hit by this truck and McCoy is getting ready to run out and save her, but Jim holds him back.
Holds him back.
Even though
Yeah.
even though he's in love with this woman,
Right.
he holds Bones back and is like, "No, we can't because it's got to play out this way." And then
Right.
they come back to the future, and it's so heartbreaking
Oh
to watch
yeah.
that happen. And there and like even Spock, it seems like is shaken up by what has to happen.
Do you know what had to play into this episode? Um, I remember I'd been kind of going through a binge of this. I was watching this show, but I was also watching the old Twilight Zones. That you remember, like they would come on Nick at Night or something like that. We'd be able to watch those, and I was watching all those at the same time. And I remember feeling like this episode had a vibe to it about like that was very Twilight Zone esque, where just how the ramifications of your future choices and all that. It had that kind of vibe. But man, that was a heart wrenching episode.
All right, I've got two more on our list. The first one, or first, our fifth one that I want to talk about is Mirror Mirror. This is where we're introduced to the mirror universe, where like it's this alternate universe where everybody's evil, and
Yes,
of course they have goatees
evil
to show
Kirk.
that they're evil.
Which
Um,
is appropriate. I mean, obviously, we are we're the bad guys.
this is the darkest timeline.
What if what if we are the bad ones in the multiverse?
I
Oh
mean,
man,
embrace it,
you
man.
can't be bad if you're wearing a Thundercats shirt. Look at you. That's an awesome shirt, by the way.
You can be, you can be.
So, the yeah, that this episode's really cool. I love I love the bad team. That's really fun. Great play on it. You're like,
And
what?
and this is another one where like I'm really impressed with the way that they have continued to utilize the mirror universe.
Yeah.
And we didn't get a whole lot of it until Deep Space Nine, and we got several episodes in the mirror universe
Well,
there.
what
But we
about Tasha
also
Yar? Didn't Tasha Yar have, or was it just a clone of her?
there was a different timeline.
Oh, it was a different timeline. That's what. Okay, so it wasn't a mirrorverse. It was a different timeline. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah, that
That
was
gets confusing. Knowing the different ones, and then of course in Discovery you have alternate ones as well. But those aren't timelines. That's not mirror. Is it just a different universe?
that's the mirror
So
universe.
that counts as mirror. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, where the like the Terran Empire is what's
Right.
the strong they're
That
the
was
strength
well
in
done.
space.
That was
Yeah.
really cool.
And
What
so
was
yeah,
Deep
we've
Space Nine? Remind me of that one, that connection.
Deep Space Nine. There were several episodes throughout the series that touched on the mirror universe where they it's almost like they could go back and forth whenever they felt like it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because um shoot, Miles O'Brien had the know-how to uh tinker with the
Connect them to it.
transporter to get them over there. But yeah, it was interesting because they always there were several episodes where they went and tried to change things over in the Mirror Universe for the better to try and take down the Terran Empire. And
I think the only one that I remember was Nana Visitor's alternate, if I recall.
yeah,
What? Yeah,
because she
that's the
was
one.
she was in charge of the space station,
Right.
but she was not a benevolent ruler.
No, she was not. Yeah, saw her at that Comic Con too. So, but with remind me how that ended out with that episode with Kirk.
Let's see what I got in my notes. Kirk's attempt to convince Spock to change the future of the Mirror Universe. I don't think that went very well. It's I don't know. It's I don't have the end game on here. What happened at the end of
So
the
many of
episode?
these episodes were just so one and done. I mean, even
Yeah,
going back to the other one, like you have the episode in World War II, and Jim pulls Bones back, and next episode is just like la da da.
yeah.
It's just that there was
That's
no continuity.
right. These weren't serialized, like a lot of shows are today.
Right.
Like Picard was very much a serialized. You've got one story arc that's taking place over the entire season,
You can't
whereas
just
yeah,
pick up an episode in the middle. Yeah.
this and that's I think that's what I like about Strange New Worlds is that it's so much like the original series or like Next Generation where it's a one and done kind of thing. You don't have to invest
Right.
in 10 episodes to understand what's going on. You
And they
can
would have an arc. They would have an arc where it'd be like a few episodes where something's going on, or an overarching thing that gets
right.
resolved. But
It's
yeah, you could have like one and done episodes.
yeah, it's like you were talking about with Next Generation where you've got character arcs that, they develop and grow over time, but it's little things that are happening here and there, and it's not like I have to watch all 5 of these episodes to understand what's going on in the story. I
Right.
can come in and I can pick up this one episode. Oh, it's a musical episode. That's cute. Oh,
Right.
well, that's over. Okay, cool.
Right. Move on. Yeah.
All right, one last episode we want to talk about, and that's the trouble with tribbles.
Okay. I was waiting. I was like, if you're not going to mention this one, then I'm going to mention this one because oh my
So
gosh,
yeah,
these
let's
little
get your opinion.
curveballs,
Cute or annoying?
annoying, annoying, not cute. Oh man, that's funny though. Just
um,
such a absurd episode, but it's
it
so
really
like
is.
legit, like falling all over the place. They open up consoles and they're just like pouring out of them.
Because what
Oh my
they,
god.
well, I can't remember what the rate of their reproduction cycle is, but it's ridiculous.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
but that episode also though led to a great episode of Deep Space Nine
Oh yeah.
where
Yeah.
they were able to kind of digitally insert the crew of Deep Space Nine into this old episode of the Trouble with Tribbles. And it's so well done, and
That was really good.
I love the how they try to address the change in the appearance of Klingons over the years because they did not do the makeup for Klingons like they do
No,
now. Like it was
no.
just like we're gonna like give you guys dark skin and maybe a
A
sort of
couple
bumpy
ridges.
forehead. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all we're gonna do. And of course, now the Klingons have these heavy ridges on their foreheads
Right,
and
right,
usually long hair, and it's like and
right.
and they and Worf was on this episode, so they're like, what's those are Klingons? We do not talk about it.
That's the best. Oh, that was good. And then there was didn't they come back in something else? Was it Lower Decks or was it or what there was some other show, wasn't just Deep Space Nine that did it. Uh I feel like there was another series or episode that touched on him.
Tribbles.
Uh-huh. I
Star
gotta
Trek
look that
Into
up.
Darkness had a Tribble in it.
Oh, did it?
Um, you don't see him too often. I know there was an episode of the I think the animated Star Trek series back in
Maybe that's
back
what
in the
I'm thinking.
70s. Um,
Tribble
had a Tribble episode.
appearances.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
episode
I don't
cracks
know.
me up.
Yeah, so there
Finally, a
are
Star Trek
some. So
episode that
there,
doesn't take itself so seriously.
yeah, they've had multiple appearances. Interesting, interesting. But there was one where, oh man, there's one that was like more recent than that. That Discovery had it. Um, oh man, that's crazy. Geez, I'm looking up tribbles, and there's like a site that shows like the anatomy of a tribble. Trekkies are real, man. They're hardcore. They will go into some detail.
I mean, I thought it was just a little fuzzball, but okay.
No, no, apparently.
Folks, that is going to wrap up our deep dive into these iconic Star Trek episodes. Do you have any favorite episodes among the original series that we did not mention? There are plenty others that I know exist that were very popular that we just didn't have time to get around to. But if you did, be sure to let us know in the comments. We hope you enjoyed this trek through the stars. Uh, so don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, stay in the loop with what we're doing. Landon, any parting words for our fantastic listeners slash viewers?
Boldly go to bed. Boldly
Live
enjoy your week.
long and prosper
Yes.
and stuff.
Oh my.
Why? Wise words, wise words. All right. To all of our listeners out there, until next time, have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.
Goodbye.